They didn't leave because they stopped caring. They left because caring stopped being enough. If people call you cold, distant, or hard to reach, if you stopped texting back and didn't feel guilty about it, if you've ever sat in a room full of people and felt completely alone, this is about you. In this video, you'll understand exactly why some people walk away from everyone, why it starts long before they actually leave, and why what looks like coldness is actually something much deeper. Most people think this is bitterness or trauma or an inability to connect. But psychology tells a different story. What looks like shutting people out is often the nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, protecting what's left. The isolation didn't start when they cut people off. It started years earlier, inside the relationships themselves. Picture someone at a birthday dinner, laughing, responding, looking like they belong. But inside, they feel nothing is real. No one is really asking. No one really sees them. They were already alone. They were just surrounded while it happened. When they finally stepped back, they didn't create the emptiness. They just stopped pretending it wasn't there. But how does someone get to that point? For most of their life, they were the reliable one. The person who picked up, who remembered, who stayed. They drove an hour to help someone move. They stayed on the phone at 2 a.m. They rearranged their plans so others didn't have to. It felt natural. It felt like love. Until one day, they needed that same energy back. And no one came. Not a call, not a check-in, just silence, from the same people they'd shown up for without question. That moment doesn't just hurt, it rewires something. And this is where the psychology becomes fascinating. The human nervous system is a pattern machine. Every time you trusted and got hurt, it took notes. Every time you opened up and were met with absence, it filed it away. Not as bitterness, as data. Psychologists call this the dorsal vagal response, a protective shutdown the body activates when connection repeatedly feels unsafe. It's not a decision, it's biology. Your body learns that certain people cost more than they give. And slowly it starts steering you away before your mind even catches up. Cutting people off isn't always a choice. Sometimes it's the body refusing to keep paying a debt that was never yours. But where does this pattern actually begin? For most people who eventually cut everyone off, the blueprint was drawn in childhood. Maybe they grew up reading a parent's mood before they could fully speak, learning that love in their house came with conditions, with unpredictability, with silence as punishment. They adapted. They learned to need less, ask for less, expect less. Not because they were taught to, but because needing more always seemed to lead somewhere painful. That lesson didn't leave when childhood did. It became the lens through which every adult relationship was filtered.
The first time they trusted someone and got abandoned, it didn't feel new. It felt familiar. And that's what made it so hard to shake. And this is where silence becomes something else entirely. After enough endings that follow the same shape, the mind learns a shortcut. Leave before you're left. It feels like control, and after years of having none, control feels like oxygen. So they stop responding before the conversation fades. They pull back before the person disappears. They end it before the ending finds them. People on the outside call this self-sabotage. But from the inside, it's pattern recognition. They've seen this movie before. They know how it ends. And this time, they chose to write the final scene themselves. That's not destruction. That's someone protecting the one thing they've been losing their whole life, their sense of self. But here's the part most people misunderstand. People imagine someone who cuts others off as dramatic, angry, explosive. The reality is almost the opposite. There's no final speech, no confrontation, no door slam. There's just less. Replies slow down. Plans get declined. Check-ins stop. The gap between messages stretches from days to weeks to nothing. By the time people notice, the person is already gone. And what replaces the anger isn't hate. It's indifference. And indifference to someone who used to pour everything into a relationship is the loudest signal that it's finally over. What people never ask is, what does this person actually want? Society has one word for being alone: loneliness. But there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is wanting connection and not having it. Solitude is choosing peace over performance. For someone who spent years managing other people's emotions, showing up, smoothing things over, being available, silence isn't punishment, it's rest. Their phone is quiet, and that quiet isn't empty. It's the first time in years they can hear themselves think. They're not running away from something. They're finally running toward something, their own peace. So if you've ever been called cold, closed off, or difficult to reach, maybe you're not broken. Maybe you just learned, slowly and painfully, that your energy is not a resource everyone deserves access to. And somewhere in the quiet you built around yourself, you started to come back to life. That's not isolation. That's someone finally treating themselves with the same care they gave everyone else. If this felt like something you've been trying to explain for years, subscribe. We explore the psychology behind the things most people never say out loud.